Go ahead and call this coordinating committee regular meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. on Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. In attendance with us this evening, we have Mayors Labadie, Fletcher, Ringate, and Jennings, in addition to the city administrators from Shorewood, Tonka Bay, our police chief, and our police administrator. With that, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda? So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Ringate, second from Labadie. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item number 2, which is the authorized representation on SLMPD Operating Committee. So I suppose the best way to kick this off, when we last spoke, sounded like Mayor Fletcher was going to go back to your council and discuss matters and then come back. Is that what we're?
Yeah, and I believe I invited the other cities to submit something in writing for a packet. No one did. I don't think none of the other cities came to our meeting for information. I don't know, did the other cities contact Greenwood council members? I believe.
I did.
Yeah, so you contacted a number of Greenwood council members or whatever directly. Yeah, so presumably, okay. So basically the gist of it is there was a motion that I'm going to basically, it might be not be exact in the wording, but it hasn't been approved in the minutes. A motion to support Mayor continuing to serve on the SLMPD Operating Committee as the city's chief administrative officer, in addition to serving on the SLMPD Coordinating Committee as mayor, based on the discussion at the June 3rd meeting, including the definition of operating committee in section 2H of the JPA and the council's appointments and assignments, while acknowledging the council does not fully understand the argument that dual service is problematic and inviting other member cities to present that argument for consideration, was made by Councilmember Conrad and seconded by Councilmember Marty, who's here. The motion carried unanimously 4-0, motion passed. So I think our council had, to summarize, and it was based on our attorney was there and Deb Kind was there, that felt that things were pretty clear, as our attorney put it. It was as a fact that Mayor in Greenwood is the city administrator, which meets the criteria for 2H for the operating committee, and but the council would be open to discussion and particularly understanding what the I think it was just not having trouble getting our arms around what the underlying concern was.
Who had trouble getting around the underlying concern, you or the council?
Well, I read the motion, and the motion said, while acknowledging the council does not fully understand the argument that dual service is problematic. That was made by Councilmember Conrad, seconded by Councilmember Marty. And, you know, that was, in other words, I think Mike can feel free to speak up. I think.
No, he's not a member of this board.
Okay. I just, in case it was helpful for input, because you'd asked about the council and he seconded the motion. Yeah.
Mayors, did anyone else discuss this at your meeting? We did at ours. And we didn't have a resolution or a direction. I just really provided an overview of what happened at the meeting, as well as we referenced the JPA, the letter from the attorney, and the concept of dual roles as an elected and an appointed. So I didn't ask the council for direction, but I gave them a brief on what happened and that we would be discussing it again tonight. So that's kind of the point we are at.
In our council, I brought it up in communications and just talked about what we had gone through and our discussions, gave my points of view. A couple of them shared back their points of view, which were congruent with mine. And then Christy has it on the work session. She did share with them a copy of the letter and all that, but it is scheduled for our work session on Monday for us to have a much more in-depth conversation about it if they deem necessary. So
Likewise from the city of Tonka Bay, we talked about it during reports. I think we brought it up twice now because we had talked about it previously prior to our last meeting, and there wasn't an in-depth analysis of what was going on, but there certainly is no pushback.
And we also referenced it twice at two different meetings. And I also made it very clear, Mayor Fletcher, that this has nothing to do with you as an individual. It's the concept of an elected and an employee or an administrator is in that role, and they shouldn't serve in the same capacity. And I still feel that way. And the way I read the letter from the attorney that we all agreed to use in good faith, I think mirrors that opinion. And it's still a concern of mine, although it is not something, I want to blow up this department over, but on the other hand, I do see it as problematic. I think I'm not alone in that, but I don't know. I'll let everyone voice their own opinions. But I just don't see how the chief, who in the JPA is supposed to meet with the operating committee monthly, and having one person on the operating committee who has the power to, in theory, hire and fire the chief, and yet that's the committee the chief is supposed to air grievances to, HR issues to, things of that nature, then that committee member has this inside knowledge coming into our committee. And also, I think it has the possibility of preventing the chief, not only Chief Balsrud, but any chief, from maybe being as forthright as they want to be with a committee member sitting right there who has the power to fire them. So these are my concerns. I had the same concerns when Deb Klein was on board. And I think as cities have marched on, it's no longer just a group of people making decisions. The communities are much more involved than they've ever been. The cities are much more transparent than they've ever been. And I just don't see this as how the operating committee and the coordinating committee were originally intentioned to be. I don't think it should be an overlapping person. So, and I've made that clear now for over a year. And, my opinion on that isn't going to change. So I'll just turn the mic over to anyone else.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I appreciate your reference in the fact that it was a concern with Mayor Kind as well as myself. So it's not a personal item or whatever. So that's much appreciated. To me, the logical time, if this was a concern, was when the JPA was redone in 2023, because it was essentially a new JPA. That was a logical time to say, okay, we need to look at this and do whatever. So that was a very logical time to do it. But it wasn't addressed then. So now the reality is we're under a JPA and what the JPA says. And in fact, in Greenwood, unless the council changes, the mayor and myself is appointed as a city administrator. And so it meets the criteria of the JPA in terms of the chief administrative officer. I have indicated, and based on the fact that the feedback was negative from this group, what about if we have another elected official? Because our council, based on our conversations, doesn't have a real interest in spending the money to hire a administrator or whatever, second administrator. Have another elected official. If it's a concern about one person having, wearing both hats, that has not been supported by this group. And that's why I did include as a list of options at our meeting. I had the whole gamut that I'd heard. And, but that was not, but I'm saying, since I've been supported by the group previously when I brought it up, I listed it as an option, but our council did not. There was a motion made and that was the motion. But that could potentially be another option that might be considered. And I don't think it would be overwhelming to do that. It's my gut feeling.
I mean, I mean, this whole thing started a year ago, kind of when we were hiring Chief Balsrud, and how this kind of bubbled up, and me being the new person in the room kind of was asking the questions, and I think that's why it got to the point it's at. And I see serious concerns, and I voiced them back then, that it's a boss in the room back in the meetings that are supposed to be strategic amongst the administrators and all that for budget or whatever. And, you know, there's going to be discussions in there that in some cases shouldn't just be privy to, because that should be on a strict strategic level, not on our level. It also, to Jennifer's point, something could be said in that room, and that person that's in that room could turn around and come into this room, and they got 1/4 of the vote to remove that person for whatever was said if they decided they didn't like it. And that's, to me, that's just, you can't wear both those hats and do that. Could it be just another person and elected? Maybe we have this ruling. I mean, that would be our decision, I guess, to make then if we wanted to go against kind of the opinion that we got. But I mean, I'm gonna stand pat with what our opinion is unless somebody presents me with something that is workable at this point, because I just think it's bad optics. It's bad in a lot of ways, the way governments are viewed right now and the way they're looking at institutions like this, and they're going through these things with fine-tooth combs. You know, there's a reason we have open meeting laws that we are all dancing around, you know, like we're on feathers. And it just, to me, there's a huge problem there. And optically, it just doesn't look good. And somebody could turn around and turn it against us. And, you know, not saying that it would be Tom, it could be any of us. I mean, it's just, I just don't think it should be that way. It shouldn't, at the bare minimum, it shouldn't be the same person sitting in both of those meetings.
And my comment, since I'm the main one from Greenwood who's talking or can talk, is that the opinion said, the conclusion, based on the information currently available, which they missed a key piece, but it is our opinion that Mayor Fletcher cannot serve on the SLMPD Operating Committee because he is not the city's of Greenwood's chief administrative officer as required by the JPA. The fact is,
they also state in there that you're an elected official.
Yeah, but that is not an issue. Yes, I am obviously an elected official, but that is not an issue relative to the JPA. You look at their conclusion, it's very clear. The fact is, one sentence conclusion.
The very clear to me is that it says it cannot be an elected official sitting in the operating committee.
It never find it in the JPA. I don't think you can find that in the JPA.
No, but I find it in his opinion. And if he's stating, and if that's his reading of the JPA, that's the opinion we agreed to a year ago that we were gonna agree to.
Mayor Fletcher, I think for myself, the reason I didn't come to your meeting and voice this or submit anything in writing, I don't wanna go down that road.
Yeah.
So we're the 4 mayors that are on this committee. I just want to try to resolve this eye to eye as quickly as possible. I mean, we voiced our opinion, and I mean, well, you haven't yet, but I mean, you know, I don't want to turn this into an ugly boxing match. We have to still work together. Our cities need each other, and your city needs these 3 cities. So, my council asked the question of why don't we open the JPA? And I don't want to do that. I would like to just resolve this. Maybe Mayor Jennings.
Largely haven't spoken because I'm just in the same position I was in the last time we met, and we had gone through this. I mean, I think it's just a matter of good governance. You know, I think we're arguing semantics with regards to what is in that document, and I don't think it actually speaks to the spirit of what the JPA intended. And I think it's to run a sound organization, it's important to have, you know, divisions of duty. And taking this approach, well, you know, I think the original rationale was that Greenwood was underrepresented by not having someone in the operating committee. And I think by making it like structuring it this way, Greenwood now has an oversized amount of influence relative to the other cities. And that's why it gets back to the rationale is that you do have a city administrator, but Greenwood has made the decision to have that person be in Tennessee. And I just don't understand that piece of it. It seems like there's a clear way to solve this, and certainly that's not our decision. It's not our choice. It's your decision. But I think by making that decision, you're essentially also then saying that you're not going to have a staffer who's on the operating committee, and that is Greenwood's choice.
I think our council, based on the motion, disagrees. Once again, it's also unclear what my or Deb Kine's prior presence on the operating committee, what issues it has created. I mean, there's a fair precedent, and once again, it goes back to if it was an issue, then that would be a good topic to discuss when the JPA was, if the concerns go back, that would be the ideal time to discuss it. Once again, the council is, I was asked to go back to our council. I gave all the options, information, said, and that was where our council, and I mean, once again, I think that it needs to be recognized that, just being on the coordinating committee, the Greenwood operating committee is where a lot of discussions happen. The Greenwood would like to have a representation on continue to have representation in the operating committee where you have some flexibility, but that's also up to the group, how much flexibility. Because once again, I don't think it needs to be the mayor, it could be another, but that's not my council's opinion based on the motion. That's just but that didn't seem to be an option with the group.
But I think that's actually kind of a good example of what we're saying is that that lawyer reports to you, and you're their client. And yes, they're going to take a look at the law, but ultimately they're going to try and represent Greenwood's position to the strongest degree that their client wants a particular outcome. And the fact that there's no recognition of that's the exact same dynamic that would occur in a coordinating committee, an operating committee environment.
When I hire a lawyer to give me the real advice, not what I want to hear. I think anybody who's smart who hires a lawyer to tell them what do they think, what's their opinion, because that's,
At the end of the day, you don't know what they're thinking, and that's why you have division of duties.
Well, no. What I'm saying is what your implication was our lawyer is telling us what we want to hear. I would never ask. I'm wasting my money on an attorney if I ask my attorney just to tell me what I hear. Because why spend the money with the attorney?
I don't think he's telling you what you want to hear. I think he's telling you what's best in terms of your city, not necessarily Tonka Bay. Or this group. He's looking out for your interests. That's why you hired a city attorney. I can go ask my city attorney and they will tell me something completely different. So as our city attorney put it, if somebody can disagree, this is your prerogative. But as a city attorney said, the conclusion is factually incorrect in this letter. He said, it's on camera, you can go watch it. He said it's factually incorrect, which the conclusion says cannot serve in the operating committee because he is not the city of Greenwood's chief administrative officer. And the fact is, look at the appointments, the mayor of Greenwood, just Deb Kine was before me, is the chief administrative officer. One can sit there and discuss, but in the conclusion, there is a factual, we can dance around it, but Greenwood appointments say city administrator, Tom Fletcher.
I know you talked this over with your council.
Yeah.
Did you talk about possible outcomes of not having a meeting of the minds and resolving this nicely? Like arbitration, mediation, litigation, opening up the JPA, and the cost that would be to all of our cities. We paid, what was it, $1,200 to have this letter written, Tom, that we in good faith were going to, and my city's paying over half of that. And I authorized this route that we would in good faith do what the letter says. And so, I feel like you're not acting in good faith by heeding the conclusion of the lawyer that we paid for, that you paid 8% for. And my city is gonna pay over 50% of this. And now you don't like what it says, so you don't wanna listen to it.
Wait, you say, so you feel that the mayor of Greenwood is not the chief administrator, because this states that the mayor is not the chief administrative officer in the conclusion, that's the reason. So your feeling is that the Greenwood City Council has appointed myself, mayor, as the city administrator. I mean, no, because there's a very factual basis here. We keep talking about the opinion, and I know everybody, but if you read the opinion, the conclusion, it's one sentence. It's clear. It says, because it's not the chief administrative officer. By the way, I'm not sure where this attorney came from or who got them or why. But
you're
but I'm
just
saying
airing dirty laundry now,
No.
as far as I'm concerned.
it's not dirty laundry. It's just, there seems to be this opinion.
Tom, I could have my city council appoint me to be the assistant city administrator or something. To Adam's point, it's semantics. You got named to a position, but you can't do both in this particular organization. You can do it in whatever else the city wants you to do. There are 3 other cities that you need to work with here that are telling you, you can't do that here. We don't want you to do that here. Find another way.
You know what, I think we're all governed by the same JPA.
Well, then we could make a motion that we want you to take it back to your city and figure out a way that you don't sit on both of these boards. And I will make that motion.
I don't think that you can have the power to tell the Greenwood City Council honestly what to do. I was asked to go and get an opinion. I did. As I said, they're open to, as I said, the motion said, council's
I
not
know
gonna
what your
stand
motion
argument.
said. You don't have to review it.
So maybe there's
we can discuss this to death at the rate we're going, and I'm trying to speed this up because we got a long budget session too,
No,
so.
what I was gonna propose, to that point, cause I think we had essentially just come to the same conclusion at our last meeting.
Right.
But from a procedural standpoint, it made sense for you to go back and discuss it with your council and bring it back. I don't think there were any, thoughts that the outcome would be different, at our previous meeting. But, when I did speak to our council at Tonka Bay, I would just say, because I think we're just at an impasse on this. And our city would be prepared to go to binding arbitration.
I think we would too, but I think, okay, so we have a motion on the table. No one has seconded it. So do we deem that motion dead?
Does anyone want to second it?
No.
Okay, then I'll withdraw.
I would like to make a motion that Mayor Fletcher not be allowed to serve on the operating committee while he's serving on the coordinating committee.
I'll second that. That's not much different than mine.
So we have
Got a motion from Lamberty, a second from Ringate. Any further discussion? All those in
first of all, I don't think you have the power under the JPA. I mean, a motion. No. I get to talk, right? You can then talk after me, but please don't. The JPA is clear. I function as administrator just as Deb Kine did before me. I don't think anybody's disagreed with that. So in terms of being semantics or whatever, the reality is in Greenwood we do. And so I don't think really this group has to suddenly off the cuff go change the clear wording of the JPA, which says a chief city administrative officer. Also, it keeps bringing up that this is, I have not heard, and you've talked to presumably multiple council members, and apparently they haven't understood what the issue is. That, ideally we all sit there and we work together, and I think that's the underlying goal. And suddenly, what is, Deb Kine did this before me. This becomes a very divisive issue. Greenwood did not raise it. We were going along with the status quo. I think we've contributed positively. To me, you normally focus on positive things when you're in groups and cities. We're supposed to work on positive and work on things that are productive. There's a lot of things going on in the world. And I candidly don't understand. I mean, that's both to myself and my council. What is the underlying, and that would be really helpful. What is the concern that's suddenly driving this? You know, has been for years, and we have trouble, but that's my comment.
I don't think it's been sudden.
I don't either.
And I, to argue against good governance, I think good governance makes sense.
And what has not been good governance by Greenwood's participation in the operating committee?
Having an elected official in a room full of staffers.
And what issue does that cause? We're
I
missing.
think we've raised some of
told
the
you have-
concerns we've
oh.
had.
Wait, I'm just trying to, you say you've raised it. I'm really trying to get to what is specifically what issue has it caused is what would
But
help.
here's the funny thing about governance, right? Is bad governance opens the door for bad things to happen. And you shouldn't justify not having governance by saying nothing bad has happened yet. And I think that's your argument. And what I would say is, it's an issue for the other three cities. I think it is a prudent way to manage the department, and period. That's just it. I don't think this. When did we bring this opinion to the attorney? Was it a year ago?
Over
About a year ago.
year and a,
This was the second attorney because we could not get the first attorney to respond.
So, as we continue to discuss this, and I know there's a motion and a second on the floor, the one thing that I would propose, since there have been developments or challenge to the opinion that was written, is there anything that would prevent us from going back to the attorney that wrote that opinion and saying, here are additional issues that have been raised? Now, granted, this opportunity of just continued back and forth. But there seem to be questions about it. That might be a good approach to it.
I mean, that's gonna come with a cost, and I think, I don't know,
I think it would be less expensive than arbitration.
it would be. But, possibly. I mean, possibly there's a chance to do that. Have the attorney follow up, or I don't know. I think, Mayor Fletcher, it just gives, I think Mayor Jennings is right. We don't need to wait for a problem to happen to say we feel we're doing something incorrectly. And this doesn't feel right anymore. It didn't back then, it doesn't now. We are saying as a joint group, minus you, that we all have these concerns. And I think, you know, once our reputation or integrity as a board, as a department, as a city is tarnished, it's hard to get that respect and that back from the communities. And nothing has happened. I think the community really respects the SLMPD. They respect the cities, but I'm just not willing to wait around till something happens to say, geez, I wish we would have changed it. It's almost like you need to read the room. 3 of us here are saying this doesn't make us feel good. It doesn't pass the smell test anymore to us. And we are all also saying it has nothing to do with you as an individual.
Or Greenwood really as a city. It's just, we're looking at.
Right, and it has, we've also said we don't want to go to the length of protracted litigation or very expensive remedies. So I think those are things we all have in common here. So, I mean, I feel we're giving you an out right now to kind of have a meeting of the minds with us.
Well, first of all, our council took a position, so, you know, I was asked to go back to our council. I talked to them informally previously, whenever, years, 6 months, whatever is ago, and the thing was, hey, so I purposely did it to provide a more emotion, make it more formal, because it seemed like that was the feedback, you know what I'm saying, rather than, well, our council said this, said, hey, council, we should really provide formal feedback as was requested. As our attorney pointed out, section 14 of the JPA provides for dispute resolution. If the feeling is to go down that path, I might suggest what Mayor Jennings said, which is go back to the attorney. For the sake of it, just point out that give them the thing, because they obviously missed a line that shows the appointments city administrator for Greenwood, and go back to the attorney with information. To me, that would be the low cost way to do that. But there's also dispute resolution in section 14.
Question becomes, it took them, I mean, this is only what, 2 pages, 3 pages long? It took them a year.
This was the second attorney.
Second attorney.
It didn't take them very long, but the first attorney we contacted said, yeah, I'll do it, and didn't after lots of prodding by Laura. And
It's like, this seems like 2 billable hours at this point.
Right.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. So
Okay.
any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Those opposed?
Hey,
3-1. Passes. Now that being said, what are the next steps then?
I think Mayor Fletcher should present it to his council that we voted this way. And we should present it to our councils, see what our councils, if it goes any further, it would have to come from Greenwood, because we are now not only a majority, we're a super majority. So Greenwood would have to bring dispute against us. And, you know, it's probably worth having our councils informed of that, because I anticipate that happening.
Do we want to pursue the route of having further clarification on the letter that was drafted?
I don't know if that's gonna make a difference,
I don't know why you wouldn't, but I'm admittedly,
because we did it once in good faith, and if we do it again, are you just going to thumb your nose at it?
well, once again, when there is a clear error and they missed a clear line on the JPA, and, you know, I would also personally, these attorneys are employment law attorneys primarily. I looked them up on the web. I don't know where Resolute Law came from. They're in St. Cloud, and their specialties are employment law. I don't know where their name come from or how they got picked or whatever.
was
I think
it
it was before CJ had left. Didn't he give us another option?
no?
Or was it?
It was a name I got from our city attorney, because we were trying to not have an attorney that represented any of our communities. So that's who we then passed.
Okay, so it was a
That's the one,
name
because-
provided by Shorewood City Attorney. Okay. Okay,
Trying to have an outside
I understand.
attorney.
Yeah, they weren't brought back to the group as a potential attorney. I mean, it just surprised me when I looked and saw small firm, specialty employment law, and you're based out of St. Cloud, and you went, huh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the motion carried. The motion was to not have Mayor Fletcher serve on the operating committee and the coordinating committee. So until that is challenged, that's what it is.
By the way, you said operating committee and coordinating committee. Is that what the motion was?
I believe that's what it was without reading it back.
Motioned that Mayor Fletcher not be allowed to serve on the operating committee while serving on the board committee.
Yeah,
So it wasn't operating, well, you just said operating coordinating committee. I'm trying to clarify what it was. Yeah, I thought it was just operating.
And I would also say
That
that,
would mean that I'm off this committee too.
yeah, and I would say that
You're,
that's,
you're in this committee.
But what you said
Yeah.
was different. I was just trying to clarify.
the operating component makes sense to me, but Mayor Fletcher is the appointed representative of Greenwood who does.
Should I modify the motion to clean it up a little?
I don't think the motion said that, but since you said operating and coordinating committee, I was just trying to clarify.
My sense, and the way you just read it back, is it's just the operating committee.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just listening to what you said.
To serve on the operating committee while serving on the board committee.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're a fully functioning voting member of this body. You
yeah.
don't have
I
the
mean, this
authority
is,
to.
this is where you belong.
That's,
Yeah. So,
any further discussion?
no. Chair?
I would prefer not to open this up
Yeah.
because I think it's just gonna get messy.
I agree.
It's your call, but, you know, Councilmember Marty is a very thoughtful person, but
So is my councilmember Sanchagrin, and so is councilmember Doug from Tonka Bay.
yeah, I just,
So-
and I would be glad to hear from any of them too. But if that's up to you folks in the chair.
Oh, we're already at 5:37 and we have a long budget discussion ahead of us, and I think we're just gonna end up stirring the pot at this point.
It's your call, Chair.
Yeah, I would prefer to move on. No disrespect, just,
Speak of wanting to work together, yet you won't let me ask a question, which seems close-minded.
It's not a public hearing though, Mike.
I understand that, but you said you want to work together as cities. I have a couple questions to help move this process along, but you don't hear them.
this is the representative of Greenwood. This is who we are charged with working with.
And I thought it would be, if anybody, to me, you got council members here from other cities, it's not like anyone's gonna draw it on. Towards council, I just thought that, hey, they took the time to come here. I would normally, our practice in Greenwood, if somebody comes up and wants to speak to a topic, we always let them speak at the council meeting. But obviously you're the chair, you dictate. But my
How do
practice,
others feel about it?
my practice.
Chair, it's your discretion.
Yeah, Adam, really, it's up to you. I mean, I could care either way. It's not, I mean, it's,
We don't let, at our meetings, people speak beyond designated public hearings or matters from the floor. And it just, I think when you apply the rules the same every time, people know what to expect and people aren't treated differently. It's the same every time.
I don't think we've been overrun with people coming and wanting to talk on topics, but that's, once again, I think it's the chair's call.
Well, we have.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a
I'm
way
talking
to
here
run
at
an
South-
orderly meeting.
Yeah, at South Lake, I don't think it's been an issue with,
Your co-chair.
Sure.
So you speak, the issue is the dual role, is that correct? And that the coordinating committee needs to be an elected official. And the other operating committee is a chief administrative officer, which we do not have. Do you have a solution for us or a suggestion for us on how we can complete that position, since we don't have a staff member that can fulfill it? Would you allow another elected official to sit into that seat?
Well, we've discussed that. And I think it's a matter of elected officials versus staff members, people like hired individuals from the city. And I think the sense I've gotten from the discussions that we've had is the answer to that question is, that is not our preference.
Understand preference, is it not allowed? Are you making that statement that you will not allow it? Because to me, we don't have another staff person. And if we're gonna have representation on board that's gonna mean something, it's gonna have to be one of our elected officials.
It's my understanding that you do have a staff member and they reside in
That is
Tennessee.
day-to-day operations that would serve on that committee that could meet our needs.
It seems like the solution would be to hire one, and we have discussed that, so I'm any further discussion on this?